Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in. We'll give everyone another minute to join in, and we'll kick it off in a minute. Thank you. All right, it's 10:31. Let's kick this off. Thanks again for joining in and for your time. How's admin? As everyone knows, these webinars are recorded, and you'll get a recording link after it's published. So you should see one come through after an hour or so of the recording. We'd love for the webinar to be interactive. So if you've got any questions, there's a question and answer button at the top. So if you click on that, that's where you'd be able to ask your questions. Yeah, we'd love to field them as we go. Topic for today is obviously AML and our integration. Obviously, AML coming in for the 1st of July 2026. We wanted to showcase what the integrations that we are working on look like. Just to note, this webinar that we're doing is just an introductory one, as in we're just showcasing what the basics of the integration looks like, and we'll do more in-depth webinars in the upcoming weeks, just so that you feel confident of meeting your AML obligations come 1st of July 2026. Having said that, our different providers, First AML is the first one off the block. First AML comes from the perspective of both the technology provider and compliance professionals. They've processed over 2 million AML checks themselves, understanding the acute problems that firms face as they try to scale their own AML is in their DNA. And representing First AML today, we've got the lovely Rochelle. Rochelle, over to you. Thanks for joining in.
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Rochelle Ives. I manage the real estate sector here at First AML. Thank you so much for joining. Ash and I are really excited to be talking to you about the Greatforms First AML integration. It's going to provide you with some really helpful operational efficiencies that will make Tranche 2 much more manageable for your business.
Thanks, Rochelle. Also, the call is Michael Madsen. Michael needs no introduction, I don't think. We'll just keep going. Cool. I suppose let's kick it off. I'll start to share my screen and kind of get into the nitty-gritties of what we're trying to show today. So I'll stop that, and then I'll start to share my other screen. Hopefully I'll get the right one going. There we go. Rochelle or Michael, can you confirm that you can see my screen okay?
Confirmed.
Yeah. Yes,
cool.
We can see it.
Thank you. Cool. So I suppose the first due diligence you do is obviously on the vendor. So that's why I brought up a sales agreement. So this is just a draft agreement. Nothing changes when it comes to creation of your sales agreements. There's only one bit that you'll see in the wizard that has changed, which is this bit. So we fielded a few questions. Obviously, you want to get that fee from the vendor, the AML CDF compliance fee. So you'll have two options: applicable, not applicable. As soon as you click applicable, you'll be able to drop in a dollar amount in there. This text you can obviously change according to your agency, and you can template that within your sales agreement template, so you don't have to type it out every time or change it every time. And that's really the only bit that changes in terms of creation of the agreements. So let's just get this agreement signed off real quick. I've just added in default values in there. I had it ready to go. I'll just sign this off on my screen just to show what really happens after. That's where I suppose you can say the magic starts. So I'll just get this signed off. Continue. Continue. So that's the vendor signing off. the sales agreement. That's Victoria vendor. Yeah, she's happy to go. Continue. That's the agent signing off. Great. So that agreement's been signed. Now we believe this at this point is the best practical point for you to start that due diligence check for the vendor, because you've captured all the information in the agreement. That's your source of truth. And you'll just then be able to seamlessly send that information out to your AML provider, being First AML today, just at a click of a button, and we'll see what happens and how you do it. So as soon as you sign that agreement, as you can see, a task gets created. I won't touch on tasks too much, but it is essentially our newest feature. You would have seen an EDM go out last week. There's some information available on our website. So if you go to that EDM, there's a link in there, and you'll be able to read all of our tasks there. So how tasks works is that you can have them enabled automatically for every agreement or contract, or just have it disabled, but AML tasks will get created automatically. So that's how we've decided to introduce AML into our workflow, is via tasks. So as soon as an agreement is signed or a contract is signed, you'll see this task section come up, and there'll be a task for the vendor. So basically the system telling you, hey, this is something that you need to action. And how you action it is via those three dots there. You can click on that. You can click on request customer due diligence from there. Or what you could do is, if you go into this document or the property folder, on the right, you'll see an AML section as well. So you can click that and then request the due diligence from there. So if I click on that, what then happens is essentially you just adding some information that's going to go straight through to First AML. So information being transaction details. So that's been captured already via your sales agreement. This amount is the vendor's estimated selling price, or the vendor's price, rather. The purpose of the transaction. So First AML requires a purpose for that check. So you could say, yeah, Victoria is retiring. She's trying to maybe downsize. And then the party details. Again, the party details have been captured in the sales agreement already, so you don't really need to change that. All you do then is click request customer due diligence, and at that point, that case gets created automatically, and I'll hand over to Rochelle to show you what that looks like within First AML.
Beautiful. Just confirming everyone can see my screen?
Yep.
Wonderful. So just here, Victoria vendor, we can see she's flown through. We've got her address. Let's click into her. Okay, so we have her address. We're going to have her contact information as well, which I'll show you in just one moment. But if we click into case details here, we can see the purpose of the transaction, retirement. She's a vendor, and the transaction value's flown through as well, which is fantastic. So what should you do next? What should your business do next to verify Victoria vendor? We're just going to pop over here to the send requirements button. We're going to click on Victoria, and this is going to generate an email that your business can send out. So something really important in AML is making sure that your customer feels reassured that they're providing their ID documents to a safe and trustworthy source. So this whole email here, everything you see, it can all be white labeled to look and feel like your business, which will provide you with much faster turnaround times because people won't mistake you for a scam artist. But once we send off that initial email, your team doesn't need to do further work for these individuals because our functionality has auto approval for low-risk individuals. Essentially, if you have an individual with no hits, they haven't come up as a politically exposed person, they're not on a sanctions list or anything like that, our platform can auto approve that for you, which means the auto approval will be sent straight back to Greatforms, so you'll be able to market that property and have visibility over it within the Greatforms platform. In terms of auto approvals, they're generally just considered appropriate for those low-risk individuals. So I'll show you how it'll work for a company. The company process in terms of the flow through from Greatforms is identical. I'm just using this one as an example. So here what we can see is that the company has been verified, Dean's been verified, Michelle hasn't been though. So again, we just go over to the send requirements button, send out that first initial email, and then the automated cadence will follow up with them. But you might notice this ready for review button up here. Within your business, you'll have a compliance officer, and they'll need to be approving complex entities, which is just trusts in companies. They're not that complex. It's pretty much just anything other than an individual is referred to as complex. But your compliance officer will log in, have a look at the verification, and make sure that you're comfortable with it. There hasn't been a pet pip, there's no adverse media hits, nothing like that. And then your compliance officer will approve that verification. And once again, that's going to be pushed back into the Greatforms platform. Ash, do you want to show them what that approval looks like?
Yep, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I'll take over. I'll show you what that looks like in Greatforms now. Can you just confirm you can see my screen?
Confirmed.
Right. So as soon as approval comes through or the status changes in First AML, what will happen is, hopefully that'll change to view. Status, no? I did approve it. Oh. In First AML. All right, teething issues.
Just bear with us. This is a test environment, so that the updates can take a little bit of time for that to come through.
Oh yeah, there you go. It has updated. So yes, so that awaiting review actually confused me as well. So what happens is when you start the due diligence as in send it to First AML, that you would have seen that changes it to in progress. And when that changes, as in has been approved or there's a status change in First AML, this will come back as awaiting review. Whenever the status of that task changes, that AML task, we're working on system notifications to be sent out to the agent and their extended team so that they're aware that something's changed in First AML. So you'll see that even though the CDD, the due diligence says completed in First AML, we're going to only show it as awaiting review because we don't want to show sensitive information on that screen as in passed or failed, because we realize that you might be in room with a window and we obviously don't want them to see that. So all you then do is go into the document, click on that, and then click on view in First AML. And that's where you'll have all of the necessary information about that particular due diligence check in there. So it's just a quick hyperlink, and that's basically it. It's a pretty simple integration. You sign the agreement, you capture all of the information that you need to start that AML transaction. While the SAA, you click a couple of buttons. Our Greatforms sends all of that information out through to First AML, so you don't have to double handle that information. That's obviously sensitive information. You don't want to make mistakes. I say this often: the more you handle the data, the more the chances of you making an error. This eliminates that. So that's why I was saying earlier that that's how we see this practically working. You sign an agreement, and as soon as you do that, you start that due diligence check from in Greatforms. In that case, as Rochelle showed you, just gets created automatically, so you don't have to work on that. That's basically it from our end. What I will, so like we said, what we'll do is this is just a showcase webinar, just showing you what the integration kind of looks like. This is still a work in progress. What we'll do is run more in-depth webinars, so just more training, maybe around tasks as well, just so that you're a bit more comfortable in meeting your obligations. And if you'd like to maybe have a demo of First AML, if you haven't decided who your provider is, I'll just throw up a QR code. There you go. So you can book in a demo with First AML, just for them to show you what their system looks like and if they'd be the right fit for you. Rochelle, have you got anything to add to that?
If anyone on the call is, looking for an AML provider or also just looking to further understand your education or your obligations, at First AML we run a really strong education piece. So if you'd like us to do a deep dive on your tranche 2 obligations, please utilize the QR code. We're really happy to take you through all of that information.
Thanks for that. There is a question by Chiron. I've just published it. My understanding is that we use the AML checks that the conveyancer has completed rather than doubling up. How will this look like within your system?
I can speak to that one if that's okay, Ash.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
So just so you know, your ability to rely on the conveyancer, that's only going to be on the purchaser side for the most part, not on the vendor side. If you wanted to be able to rely on conveyancers for vendor verification, you need to engage in what's referred to as a reliance framework. Reliance frameworks have been available in the New Zealand market for close to a decade, and no one utilizes them, or hardly anyone utilizes them, because they're so involved, they're not really operational. However, on the purchaser side, there is a rule that exists that makes it possible for you to rely on the conveyancer. However, it is important to note that that conveyancer does not have an obligation to provide you with that confirmation. In terms of how that's going to work within this integration, that's something that probably the Greatforms team might need to think about. But just so you know, I want to make sure that businesses are adequately prepared for tranche 2. I think it will be edge cases where conveyancers provide that confirmation to you rather than the standard transaction, mostly because they have no obligation to provide you with that confirmation. I hope that makes sense.
I think it certainly does. Just so if it wasn't obvious, and I didn't quite show you what it looks like, but how you start the customer due diligence check for the purchaser looks exactly the same as we did for the vendor. As soon as you sign a contract, a task will get created for the purchaser, and you just do it the same way as you did for the vendor.
Right.
The accounts has a question. I think they've raised their hand. I'm going to unmute you just so you can ask that question, accounts. I don't think you've asked it in the Q&A tab. So allowing your mic now. Go for it. Accounts, have you got a question? No?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick question, please. Could you show us what actually got sent out to the vendor and the purchaser, like how it looks like when they receive the...
Within the First AML platform?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, thank you.
So essentially, sorry, I'll just get my screen share back up.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
No worries. So it's going to be an email and it'll look something like this, but it is worth noting that all of this is customizable. So this is the generic stock standard First AML email out, but I'm just going to jump in over here to settings and branding. This is where you can set it up to look and feel just like your business. So whatever your core colors are within your style guide, your logo can be updated. And then as well, you can put whatever language you'd like in those email templates out. We have base text in them that's most suitable for AML verifications, but if there's additional information you want to include or sort of tweaks to the wording, you can do that here. And again, we obviously have that automated follow-up, but essentially what I showed you before, that's the stock standard email, but you can change the branding to look and feel like your business.
Cool.
Does that
Thanks
answer
for
your
that,
question?
Rochelle.
Okay.
We've got another couple of hands raised. Jatin, I'm going to enable mic for you so you can ask your question. Fire away. You might have to unmute
Prashant,
yourself, Jatin,
am I
before you ask.
audible?
Yeah.
Hi, morning.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, hi,
Go for it.
Shank. I do have two questions, but want to bring it all together as we are discussing about a particular company named Urban Fabric Development Limited. there were the three partners. And if we consider the form in the very beginning, you have shown it's cost $50. And my question is, if there are three different partners in a one company, so we are going to charge 50 each because AML stands for individual profile, anti-money laundering process for an individual profile, or you are going to just calculate it as a one transaction?
I'll just quickly touch on the sales agreement side, Rochelle, and then you can pick up from the First AML one. Yes, so on the sales agreement one, based on what your estimated costs are going to be, that dollar amount, you can change that accordingly. So yeah, it doesn't have to be obviously $50. And again, we can, the wording in there, you can say that it's just an estimate. So the vendor realizes that that's not that $50 or whatever that amount is not set in stone. And you might have to maybe update that price at a later point, and you could do it via variations. So that's the sales agreement side. Rochelle, I'll let you speak about the First AML bit.
Yeah, so just in terms of within a company who you need to verify, it's going to be the company, and it's going to be any directors within that company who have 25% or more. So just so you know, if you have a company that has 10, 20, 30 people within it, you definitely don't have to verify all of them. That would be a horrific task. But just to add to the on-charging piece, so you know, 100% of First AML customers are on-charging all costs to the vendor. It's very quickly becoming the market norm. My personal recommendation to you would be whatever you anticipate your on-charge amount should be, mark it up a little bit just for your peace of mind as a business to make sure you're not left out of pocket. And just so you know, within the First AML platform, I'm just jumping into reporting. I've got a pricing report up here. This is going to tell you exactly how much it cost your business to verify every single transaction. So once you have a little bit of data within the First AML platform, you can refine your on-charge amount to be really, really precise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, agreed, Rochelle. But the question remains again same. At the time when we are sitting with the customer, sometimes we don't have an access to the forms on spot. But this is a one task where we are taking care, for the example of urban fabrics, but in some situations there are two different vendors with the individual name. In that case, we are going to charge both of them individually, or it should be a one per sales agency agreement? Individually,
it'll be per person. Apologies, I misunderstood your question. Yeah,
okay.
And just so you know, at first, just so you know, verifying an individual in person costs $9, and verifying an individually remotely costs $12 with First AML, if that helps out with the cost.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
No worries.
Thanks, Jatin. There's a couple of other questions. Kazim, I'm gonna allow the mic for you, just so you can ask the question far away. You might have to unmute yourself before you do that. Kazim, have you got a question?
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
It's wonderful. I'll be very quick here. Now, First AML obviously is a service provider. Ash, the question is for you. As we're using a Greatform, and can we integrate another provider, or it has to be First AML?
So the work we've done with First AML is the first one off the block. We are also working with Easy AML and AML Hub. So we'll do similar webinars with them as well. Those are the first three providers that we are working with. We're not saying that those will be the only ones, but we'll obviously see how we go in the future. If the market needs another provider to be integrated with, we'll certainly consider it.
That's fine. You answered my question. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Accounts, I'm going to enable your mic again, so you can fire away with your question. Go for it. You'll have to unmute yourself before you do that.
Okay. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify what is actually being checked, because as we know, there are many things we need to check, like, for example, the questionnaire, the IDs, and then also the sanction lists for both the vendor and the purchaser. So I just want to clarify what's actually being checked. Is it check everything, or we still have to check something from our officers still have to check from our side, a portion? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll show you. I'm just going to this case here, Bjorn Baden. We can see he's been completed, so let's click into him. And if we go to verification report, it's showing us all of the checks that it did, confirming with you that First AML's functionality is a full AML verification. KYC, sanctions, adverse media, PEPs, screening, anti-tampering, biometrics, we do it all. Within your business, you have an obligation. Your obligation is to review and approve these cases. So like I mentioned before, where it's an individual who hasn't had any hits or anything like that, the First AML platform will auto-approve that for you. We actually do have that functionality for companies and trusts as well, but most businesses choose to not utilize it as it is considered more risk mitigating to have your compliance officer come in, review the case and approve it. So your business would be reviewing complex entities and individuals with any hits. It's worth noting that the majority of the Australian residential market is individuals with no hits. So it'll be, I don't want to jinx you, but I'm going to say 95% of your transactions will be individuals with no hits.
Thanks for that, Rochelle. I hope that answers your question. Next one up is Rocky. Rocky, I have a loud mic for you. Please unmute yourself and go for it.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Or?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Cool. So back to the pricing. So it's $9 per individual. So my understanding is if you get a company, the company itself, there's no cost. It's the individuals involved in that company, which works out to be the total cost. Is that correct? Or
you do have to verify the company as well, so there's cost associated with that. We do bespoke pricing proposals that are best suited to your business. So it's difficult. Someone needs to mute themselves, please.
Yeah, yeah, I'll just unmute Rocky. Oh.
So sorry, Rocky, but just to answer that, we do bespoke pricing models that will best suit your business. So just book a demo with myself, and I'll put together a bespoke pricing proposal, and we can work out exactly what it would cost you and your business.
great. So I've scanned that QR code. So
I unmute. Sorry, Rocky, I unmuted you because we were getting some noise from you there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can now.
Cool. Awesome. So I scanned the QR code. So if I fill out those details, then I'll get a demo booked and we'll be able to go through the actual pricing and everything else, I guess, included.
Absolutely. Yep, we'll go through a deep dive with you.
Sounds good. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. I suppose we'll take a couple more before we wrap this up. Next up is Kanika. Kanika, I have allowed the mic. You might have to unmute yourself before you ask your question. We can't hear you, Kanika. You're going to have to unmute yourself before you ask your question. Or alternatively, if you could just drop in your question in the Q&A tab, we'll get to that in just a bit. There are a couple of questions in there, so I'm gonna, sorry, Kanika, I'm gonna unmute you, mute you for now, and I'll just take a couple of questions from the review screen. I need to request. Okay. Published. There's a question from Naya. She asks, what is the time frame from when you send a request to getting an approval pass back? Rochelle, that one might be for you.
Oh, is that one for me?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So individuals take around 5 seconds. Companies and trusts take a little bit longer. Companies take around 30 seconds, and then trusts are 60 to 90.
Cool.
But individuals are quick.
That answers it. Thank you. And there's another one. I'm going to publish that. That's from Craig. The question is, how does First AML screen for PEPs? For example, if Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump want to sell a property held as joint tenants, both have valid passports, would we refuse them as clients or allow the sale and report the transaction to Austrac? Interesting question.
That's I love that question. So I'm pretty sure Putin you wouldn't be able to, because I think he'd be on a sanctions list, but Trump you would be able to. But if we take Putin out of it, and it's just Trump, you would be able to sell his property, but he is a PEP, a politically exposed person, so you would have an obligation to submit an SMR, a suspicious matter report, via the Austrac portal within 3 business days of identifying him as a PEP. The reason you have to report PEPs, politically exposed people, is people who hold office or have a direct family member who hold office are considered more likely to be bribed, so they have a higher risk rating. So essentially in that scenario with a PEP, continue with the transaction, but make sure you promptly report it to Austrac. And just so you know, those SMRs are entirely anonymous. You're not going to get a call from Donald Trump saying, Austrac told us that you thought I was super dodgy or anything like that.
That was such a good question, and that was a smashing answer, Rochelle. Thanks very much for that. That was so good. Just one other question then from Andrew. Andrew, I'm going to allow your mic now. Please unmute yourself before you ask your question. Go for it. Andrew, we can't hear you, so I don't know if you've been able to unmute your mic before you've asked your question. Goes without saying, if you've got any questions that haven't been answered, you obviously think of them after, just email us, support@reaforms.com.au. If you're lucky, Michael will get to that ticket before me. And we'll come back to you with answers quick. I think that's it. Andrew, unfortunately, we haven't been able to hear you. Please send through that question. We'd love to answer that, support@reaforms.com.au. I'm going to end this event. Thank you again for your time, and thank you very much to Rochelle to showing us what the First AML platform is and does, and answering all the questions. All right, we'll see you around. Thanks, everyone. See ya. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.